Hello, I'm Russell Simpson. I made this sculpture in the package and I'm going to show you how to open it. This package is 66 inches tall, 31 inches deep, and 30 inches wide. To open it, there are 8 bolts. They all open with a flathead screwdriver, just a flathead, not a Phillips. These are the only bolts you need to open the package. So you can use a drill or a hand driver, and we're just going to unscrew all these bolts. So you can see it says up, open this side only. This is the only side you ever need to open. You do not ever need to open any of the other panels. And in fact, while there are screws, they're also glued together, so don't open those unless you really need to. The sculpture is inside. So it's fit very tight, but it does move in and out. So it's safe to grab and move by any of these vertical members, the diagonal ones. I'm just going to roll it out. You can hear the foam squeaking a little bit. That's fine. It's just because it's a tight fit. And it's helpful to grab from the base. There we go. There are 4 pieces of foam that hold the sculpture in place for shipping. There's this bottom piece, the small piece above it, the top piece, and then the front is one long piece. Also, in this bottom piece here, you have this little tool slot. This is a mirror. This is going to go on the bottom of the sculpture so people can see the Stratolite craft under it, so this is important. These are tools which you may or may not need if you ever need to do any adjusting to the frame, or if you need to patch any of the thin plastic film membrane. So this piece of foam in the back simply pops out, nice and easy. The piece of foam on the top slides out, also nice and easy. There are a pair of bolts that connect these 2 large bottom pieces of foam. You can see them here and here. They're just hand tightened, so remove the nut and washer from one side. And then you can either pull the bolt out or just pull the foam block off. After removing the nut and washer, you're going to come in here, pull the bolts out. There's 1, and there's 2. They should just slide out. It's a tight fit, so just slide them horizontally. There are felt covers which protect the plastic film. You can see that for the bottom balloon, they're mounted directly in. But for the top balloon, they're just on here. They're not taped, they're just friction fit. So simply you can see the back one has extra foam where it meets the bars. That's how you know it's the rear piece. But otherwise they're identical. And the back piece is red, the front one is yellow. There's extra protection around the front here. So you just use this piece of blue tape, take this off, and then this little protector here fits in and you'll see that there's two little wings that make it kind of pop in and out. And then you can see how the tip here is revealed. Some notes about the operation of the sculpture. When it's packed, this top ring is pushed as far as you can in so that the sculpture is very close to these bars and the back pieces. But when you're operating it, it's okay to slide that ring out further. It's on a cantilever structure, which means that the force pulling down on this side is pulling up on this back side here to these members, which are attached down to here. So if you need to adjust the tilt of the top bar, it's a two-person job, but one person can hold this top up and the other person can loosen these two bolts here, that and that side, and slide this down if you want. It doesn't have to be perfectly horizontal. It's okay if it's got a little bend in it. If you need to adjust it in other directions, the 1/4 inch hex bolt wrench included adjusts these two members so you can slide that. Whenever you're adjusting the structure, make sure there's at least two people holding it. Do not allow it to fall. Do not allow it to drop at all. It has to stay up. It's good to check the tightness of all the bolts in the structure before you're deploying it. You're looking at all these silver nuts and bolts here. They should all be tight, but sometimes things shake during shipping. Down to the feet. The sculpture is on wheels. The base has a clearance of only about 1/4 inch, so it's hard to go over any bumps, but there are wheels under there. It also has 4 wings, which can be deployed for extra stability. These are the wings. You just lift them out, bring them out, and turn the screw until they have some stability to them. There's 2 on each side, and they're just for extra stability to keep this sculpture from moving moving sideways. When you don't need them, simply tuck them here, tuck them on top of the screw. Make sure that there's a little bit of clearance under this little rubber foot so that they don't catch when they roll. But you'll see that there are 4 wings, 2 on each side. In this foam block here, in your tool slots, one of the things you have is a mirror. I would recommend placing this mirror about here on the sculpture. The point of it is to let people see the Stratolite craft and the solar panel here more easily. Because it's very low, it's hard to see when you're close. It's okay to see from a distance. But if we just drop that mirror there, and then adjust it a little so that someone is standing can look down and see the craft in the reflection. The balloons are connected by this industrial string, which goes through holes in the primary vertical rods. Do not ever cut those strings. They are redundant. There are 4 of them. Even though each one is rated to hold enough weight, they are redundant, but do not ever cut them. If you somehow do injure those, it will take some effort, but you are able to put a new string through the piece here and tie it up, but it will be very difficult to do, so avoid doing that. The same here, connecting these 2 balloons are 4 redundant strings. Also, do not ever cut them, do not damage them. If you do damage one of them, they are fixable. There is replacement string in the tool package. Also, the Stratocraft is held by string. Obviously, it's not as structurally important because it's just holding a couple ounces, but it is there. And avoid damaging that. You can see this is just hanging on a nut on the back, so you can place it like that. The balloons are covered with 4mm plastic film. There are going to be some naturally occurring stretch marks. Those are not avoidable, although I did my best to limit them. You can see we have an injury here where there was a little bit of a break. So I'm going to show you how to fix that. The easiest thing to do is just to put transparent tape onto any injuries. Tape is included in the tool kit and can also be purchased easily. But since this is on my end, I can show you how to fix this by taking the slice out, replacing the film, and then replacing the slice. This is difficult to do. I don't recommend it unless it's a very bad injury. The top pieces are for the most part glued in, so they cannot be replaced, which is fine because they are very difficult to fix without the proper armature that I've built. But the bottom balloon, the pieces are not glued in. If for some reason a piece backs out a little bit during transport, which is very unlikely, but it could happen, you can just press it back in. Whenever you're dealing with the balloons, you only want to press on the ridges because these are the hard plastic pieces that go into the frame. Never press on the middle of the film. It can make small dents and poke marks, which you can see in the light. So avoid that and avoid having viewers poke at the balloons too much. But I'm going to show you how to replace this one on the bottom. So if you ever need to replace a slice, I'm going to push it, only pushing on the hard plastic. Notice that I'm only touching the hard plastic. I'm not pushing on the middle of any of the pieces. And eventually the slice will pop out. So you see that each piece is a slice. There's two pieces of acrylic sheet, 1/8 inch, that are at a specific angle. And the film is laid over that and taped down with transparent tape. This would be very difficult to replace yourself, so I don't recommend it unless it's a very bad injury. If you had a simple cut like this, I would recommend you just tape it. So we're going to peel the plastic off. I'm peeling off the tape. I did include a few extra slices, a few extra So while this is open for replacement, you can see inside. You can see that there are these pieces I call gears, which are horizontal and accept the slices that go into them. And they connect through two pieces into the inner core member. So if you do need to replace a slice, it's helpful to have this armature. It's not included, but if you need it, contact me and we can talk about having it delivered. Place the two slices in there. Take your pre-cut piece of 4mm acrylic film, place it over there, and using transparent tape, I'm going to tape it slowly and carefully, trying to keep it centered. There's a bit of skill to this to try not to avoid having creases and folds in the plastic. So another reason I don't recommend you do this unless you have to. Avoid having any dust particles inside here because you won't be able to get them out later. So notice that I'm kind of at first skipping some places and then I go back and do more continuous taping. But it's not necessary to do every tiny little piece. But you do want to tape constantly so that it fits nicely. Okay. So you can see the plastic is taped on there. There are some bumps on the side, that's fine. Those will go away or at least be invisible after it's slid into the piece. So you can keep the slice wide. Line it up. This is tricky to do. And you want to only press on the hard plastic outside pieces, never on the inside. It's helpful to push from the back, but remember just to not press anything on the inside. It's a very tight fit, and it's going to take a little patience and some gentle tapping if you're just doing one slice. It's a lot easier when there are more slices, but there we go. Popped it in. Hey, it worked. Fixed. Hello, my name is Russell, and I'm going to show you how to pack the Stratolite Sculpture back into its crate. So, the first thing to do is to put the 4 support wings back away. They rest just on top of the screw that's sticking out from inside the frame. Then we're going to take the mirror, put it in its bubble wrap sheath. Now we're going to put the cone protector on. You'll see that it has little tiny wings in the slot so that it pops on and will stay fit. So you're just going to take this and slide it in any of the directions, any of the 4 directions, like such. Now we're going to just put a little bubble wrap on the outside of this just for some extra protection. Just a little piece of blue tape on there to hold it. Now we have these 2 big felt paper mache protectors. The red one goes in the back, so we're going to put the red one on first. It's best to put it on and then kind of slide it around since it is a tight fit. In general, everything is going to be a pretty tight fit because we don't want it moving around and shipping. It is recommended that you have 2 people do this, but it can be done by 1 person if they're careful. You want that sitting just halfway there. Remember, anytime you touch the balloon, only touch the ridges, never touch the middle surfaces. So you want to carefully put pressure on those. Now, we need it to sit as far back as possible. So we're going to scoot the ring backwards. It helps to have a second person. As much as we can until it's touching. The foam will be touching on the sides here. It is a tight fit. That's what we need. Good. Now that that's in there securely, put the yellow one on the front. A lot easier. Great. Anytime you move the balloon, even if you're wheeling it around in the exhibit, I would recommend putting the cone protector on there because it can swing and it should be fine, but you want to just make sure that nothing interferes there. And when it swings, you want to make sure it doesn't swing so far back that it hits this bar. It's not likely to happen, but if you move it really rough, it might. So really avoid hitting the back there and kind of minimize the swing of the balloon. So we're going to start with this foam block, which has the tool slot in it. This one's going to go in the back. And just slide it horizontally into there. It should reach about halfway through the balloon. A little touch there. Now we're going to take the two long rods, and we're going to slide the two long rods with one nut and washer already on them through. Now we take the tall foam piece. This one goes in the front. And you have to line up the rods with the holes. Two people makes this a lot easier, but it can be done by one. Now we're going to carefully and gently slide these two together. You might notice there is some gap on the sides. It's fine. Check the rod, and now we're gonna put the other side of the rod on. Washer, then a nut. You don't need to tighten this very much. In fact, don't make it really tight at all. It's just until it stops. Don't crank on it. Not even tight, it's fine. I'm going to take the top piece. Notice this carve out on here as opposed to the round carve out for the balloon. This has this little slot carve out. This should go just like such. And we will rotate it. This little odd-shaped piece is a little support for the back. It's a little tricky, just kind of navigate it in there, pop it in, and it sits like that. And we'll take the tool package and the mirror. Mirror goes on top with the shiny side up so it's most safe. And they just fit right in the slot. Right there. If you're having trouble fitting the sculpture into the crate, it's probably this front edge, front surface, because this front surface contacts the box, the back of the crate directly. You can see where there's a cutout for a 2x4 here, which is the 2x4 framing in the crate. And it really matches the black edge here pretty closely. So if it's not quite going all the way into the crate, you probably need to push this a little bit more in. And that might mean that you need to slide it back a slightly bit more so that it fits. It's a very tight fit. This is the crate for shipping, the Stratolite Sculpture. Let's see, it's got up and keep upright and fragile written on it. There's some foam pieces for padding. There's some extra framing and bracing inside. It's got cutouts. The black HDPE surface will sit just below those bottom foam cutouts, so it's very snug. You can see that while it is built with screws, the bolts that actually close it go into these sockets. So you're not screwing into the wood, you're actually bolting into these steel receivers. That way you can open it and close it as many times as you need to. They can be removed with a hex wrench. There's a hex wrench that fits right into there if you ever need to remove them and replace them. Now we're going to place the foam packed sculpture into the crate. It's a very tight fit. It helps to have two people to do this, but it is possible to do it with one person. You can hear the foam squeaking because it's a very tight fit. So first you're going to line up the black HDPE base with the inside edge of the crate. There's really no margin, so it's got to be basically exact. Then you're going to tilt it back just a little bit. Because the clearance on the bottom is only 1/4 inch, so you need to do a little lifting, a little tilting to get it to slide. There you go. Push it nice and slowly in. Put those back wheels on there. So you need to get the bottom edge of the HDPE really flush with the wood frame. If it's not fitting, this foam on the inside probably needs to get squished a little bit more. But when you push it in, it should kind of take care of that. Now it's in the box. You see we have our mirror and tools in here. All of our pieces of foam. Now we can close it up. This is the front lid, the only side you'll ever need to open. I recommend closing it by hand because you don't want to over tighten any of these bolts. They're going into the receivers. They're not going into wood. They're going into the metal receivers that are there. You only need to tighten them until they're below the surface of the wood. Don't over tighten them. It's all closed up. It's okay to tilt it a little bit, but it should never be flipped on its side or upside down or anything like that. When you're shipping it, make sure to label it as do not stack, which indicates to FedEx not only to not stack anything on top, but also not to flip it over. And there you have your closed up crate ready for shipping. Thank you.